Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast on decision-making skills. I'm Sophia, and with me today is Mason. We're excited to help you improve your decision-making skills. How are you doing today, Mason?
Hi, Sophia. I'm doing great, thanks. I'm really looking forward to this topic. Decision-making is such an important skill in everyday life. Let's dive into it.
Absolutely. So, let's start with the basics. Decision-making is the process of choosing between different options. It's something we do every day, from deciding what to eat for breakfast to choosing a new hobby.
That's right. The first step in decision-making is to identify the choices you have. Choices are the different options you can pick from. For example, if you're choosing between two activities, your choices might be playing soccer or going to a movie.
Good point. And once you know your choices, the next step is to think about the pros and cons. Pros are the positive aspects of each choice, and cons are the negative aspects. For instance, the pro of playing soccer could be getting exercise, while the con might be that it could be too tiring.
Exactly. To make a good decision, you need to weigh the pros and cons of each choice. Weighing means comparing the positive and negative aspects to see which choice is better for you.
Right. After weighing the pros and cons, you can evaluate your options. To evaluate means to think carefully about each choice and decide which one is best based on your needs and preferences.
And don't forget about consulting others. Sometimes, it's helpful to ask friends or family for their opinions. Consulting means talking to others to get their advice. They might offer insights that you hadn't considered.
That's a great tip. Now, let's practice with a simple example. Imagine you have to choose between studying for an exam or watching a movie. Your choices are study or watch a movie.
Yes, and the pros of studying might be getting a good grade and learning new things, while the cons could be that it's not as fun as watching a movie. On the other hand, the pros of watching a movie could be relaxation and enjoyment, but the con might be not preparing well for the exam.
Exactly. By weighing the pros and cons of each choice, you can evaluate which option is better for your situation. In this case, studying might be more important if you have an important exam coming up.
That's right. So, let's review some of the key phrases we talked about. Choices are the different options you have. Pros are the positive aspects, and cons are the negative aspects. Weighing means comparing, and evaluating means thinking carefully about your options. Consulting means asking others for advice.
Now, we're going to explore how to handle more difficult decisions and manage the outcomes. Are you ready, Mason?
Absolutely, Sophia. Let's dive into how to tackle those tough decisions. Sometimes, we face choices that are not so straightforward. It can be challenging to know what to do. One important thing to remember is to gather information before making a decision.
That's a great point. Gathering information means collecting relevant details about each option you're considering. For example, if you're deciding whether to buy a new phone, you might gather information about the features, the price, and reviews from other people.
Exactly. Once you have the information, you can use it to make a more informed choice. Another term you might hear is risk assessment. This means evaluating the potential risks or negative outcomes associated with each option.
Yes, risk assessment is crucial. It helps you understand what might go wrong and prepare for it. For example, if you're thinking about starting a new job, you'll want to assess the risks, such as moving to a new city or adjusting to a new work environment.
And it's also important to consider the long-term effects of your decisions. Long-term effects refer to how a decision will impact your future. For instance, choosing to study hard now might have long-term benefits, like a successful career.
Absolutely. Another helpful tip is to set priorities. This means deciding which factors are most important to you. For example, if you value career growth more than a higher salary, you might choose a job with more opportunities for advancement.
Great point. Setting priorities helps you focus on what matters most. Let's practice with an example. Imagine you have to choose between two colleges. One has a strong program in your field of interest, while the other is closer to home. You might need to gather information about each college, assess the risks, Consider the long-term effects and set your priorities.
Right. By gathering information, assessing risks, considering long-term effects, and setting priorities, you can make a decision that aligns with your goals and values. It's also helpful to reflect on past decisions. Reflecting means thinking about previous choices and learning from them.
That's a valuable tip. Reflecting on past decisions can provide insights into what worked well and what didn't. It can help you make better choices in the future.
So let's review some of the key phrases we've discussed. Gathering information is collecting relevant details. Risk assessment is evaluating potential negative outcomes. Long-term effects refer to the impact on your future. Setting priorities means deciding what's most important. And reflecting on past decisions is learning from previous choices. Now, we'll focus on how to evaluate decisions, handle mistakes, and learn from the outcomes. Ready to dive in, Mason?
Absolutely, Sophia. Let's start with evaluating decisions. This means looking back at the decisions you've made and seeing if they achieved what you wanted.
Yes, evaluating decisions is crucial. It's like checking if your choice was effective. For example, if you chose to change your diet to be healthier, you would evaluate if you feel better and if your health has improved.
Exactly. To evaluate a decision, you might ask yourself, did this work out as I expected? And what were the results? It's important to be honest about the outcomes.
That's a great point. And then we have handling mistakes. When things don't go as planned, it's important to know how to address them.
Yes, handling mistakes means figuring out what went wrong and making corrections. It's important not to get discouraged. Mistakes are opportunities to learn.
Right. For example, if you made a mistake in a project at work, handling mistakes might involve discussing what happened with your team and finding ways to fix the issue.
Another key phrase is taking responsibility. This means owning up to your errors and not blaming others.
Exactly. When you take responsibility, you're showing integrity and accountability. If you missed a deadline, taking responsibility means admitting it and apologizing if needed.
After taking responsibility, the next step is to learn from the experience. This means reflecting on what happened and understanding how to avoid similar mistakes in the future.
Yes, learning from the experience is about growth. For instance, if you realized that poor time management led to a mistake, you might learn to plan your time better in the future.
And don't forget to adjust your approach. This means changing how you do things based on what you've learned.
Precisely, adjusting your approach can help you improve. For example, if you find that a certain method of studying isn't effective, you might try a new technique or seek additional help.
Let's put this into context. Imagine you planned a big event, but it didn't go as smoothly as you hoped. You would start by evaluating the decision. Did the event meet your goals? Then, you'd handle mistakes, like fixing any logistical issues. After that, you'd learn from the experience to make improvements for the next event.
Absolutely. And seeking feedback can be really valuable. Seeking feedback means asking others for their opinions and suggestions.
Yes, seeking feedback can provide new perspectives. For example, if you ask your colleagues how they felt about a project, their feedback can help you understand what worked and what didn't.
To wrap up, remember these key phrases: evaluating decisions, handling mistakes, taking responsibility, learning from the experience, adjusting your approach, and seeking feedback. These are all important for effective decision-making. Now, we'll discuss making final evaluations and reflecting on the entire decision-making process. Are you ready, Mason?
Ready and excited, Sophia. Let's start by talking about final evaluations. This is when you review the results of your decision and see if it met your expectations.
Yes, final evaluations are crucial. It's like checking the end result of a project. For instance, if you decided to start exercising regularly, your final evaluation would be seeing if you achieved your fitness goals.
To conduct a final evaluation, ask yourself questions like, did this decision solve the problem I aimed to address? And what were the positive and negative outcomes?
Exactly. By asking these questions, you get a clear picture of whether the decision was effective. For example, if you made a decision to change your study habits, the final evaluation would involve checking if your grades improved.
Moving on, let's talk about reflecting on the process. This means thinking back on how you made the decision and what you learned from it.
Yes, reflecting on the process involves reviewing each step you took. It helps you understand what worked well and what could be improved for future decisions.
Reflecting could include reviewing your decision-making strategy, such as how you gathered information and weighed options. It's about learning from the whole experience.
And don't forget to consider the role of emotions. Emotions can play a big part in decision-making, and reflecting on them helps you understand how they influenced your choices.
Yes, the role of emotions means recognizing how feelings like stress or excitement affected your decisions. For instance, if you were very excited about a new project, it might have influenced your decision more than you realized.
Next, let's discuss making adjustments based on your reflections. You might need to change your approach for future decisions.
Exactly. Making adjustments involves tweaking your strategy or approach. For example, if you find that rushing decisions led to mistakes, you might decide to take more time in the future.
And finally, remember to document your findings. Keeping track of what you learn from each decision helps you build a better decision-making process over time.
Documenting your findings means writing down what worked and what didn't. This can be as simple as keeping a journal or notes about your decision-making experiences.
To summarize, here are the key phrases we discussed: final evaluations, reflecting on the process, the role of emotions, making adjustments, and documenting your findings.
That's right. By focusing on these areas, you can enhance your decision-making skills and make more informed choices in the future.
Thank you for joining us for this podcast series on decision-making skills. We hope you found these insights useful. Remember, effective decision-making is a skill that improves with practice and reflection.
And be sure to tune in for our next podcast. We'll cover more topics to help you with your English learning journey. Have a great day.
Bye for now.